So my friend told me I never touch Photoshop. I took a photo off of Google. I need to know how to separate the character in the photo from the background, and is it possible to minimize or enlarge the line work of the character or the background? So let's start with, you're gonna have to open your Photoshop, of course, and you can either start a new document, and you gotta choose the resolution. I think 72 is too low, but you don't need to go too high either. The size doesn't matter. So I got a drawing that I did here, and I'm just gonna copy this image and paste it with holding Ctrl V, or paste it here. So you see my original drawing is bigger than my background, so I'm gonna go to this tool here, crop tool, and you click on it one time, unless this is selected, but you just need the first one, and you'll just drag it out to the size that you want this to be. So the cheapest, fastest way to do this would be with the quick selection tool. So with the first one, you kind of select and you hold your mouse button and you just select everything. See, because my background, the contrast in between both is very high, you don't need to work too hard to get this right. With smaller areas, with more detail, you're gonna need to either make your brush selection tool bigger or smaller, and you can do that with, what are these keys called? Anyway, you know them. So you make it smaller, and you can one click it, or you can sort of click it and drag it in. Then if we go closer, by the way, you can zoom in and out by using this tool, and if you just left click, it goes closer. If you right click, it doesn't go further. You can use it this way. That's kind of a pain in the ass. If you hold Alt, it'll give you the minus sign on there, and you can do this. Anyway, so do you see how my selection tool kind of ate this part of my drawing, and it didn't select the white here? So I'm trying to select the white goes in here, and you just kind of have to do it by hand, and depends on the drawing, it might be harder or easier. But then I want to get these back, so I'm gonna go to this tool, and I'm gonna go in, and I'm going to select this. The newer the version of Photoshop you have, the better this tool is gonna work for you. You gotta have to do that for the whole drawing, or you can just kind of be like, oh, whatever, that's good enough for me. And now the background is selected. My background is selected, my drawing is left there. If you want to invert the selection, you go to your tool, you right click on your selection, and you select inverse. And then the other part of your drawing will be selected. Let me copy my selection, and let me make this layer invisible. Now, even though my layer is invisible, my selection tool has this thing traced, and I don't want it anymore. So I'm gonna click on this thing, and this is an easy way to deselect everything. Now I'm gonna paste what I just selected, which is this. Now, let's say we only want this guy here. So I'll go to my eraser tool. We'll select the first one, and again, you can make the smaller or bigger. Then if you right click, you'll get these options. which is the size of your brush or the smoothness of your brush. This is the opacity too. So let's go on 100%. Let's say this is smooth edges, and then you can make it have hard edges and, you know, have circles. You can have it in the middle or whatever. I'll erase this stuff. Now I won't get too close so to the part that I want to say, so I'll just kind of do this. And then we're gonna get closer to the drawing. Let's say I want to put whatever fiery background and I don't know, just laser beams coming in, and it kind of makes the drawing look cheap if there's this little sort of pixelated edges to it. So I'm gonna select a really small eraser, and I'm gonna clean it up. And like I said, it depends on what you're using it for. You don't have to go and so crazy about this stuff, but if I'm cleaning edges, I want them to be perfect. You can select different shapes for your eraser tool, but I think my main shape is always just a circle, because you can make it a really 1 pixel line if you want to. I suggest you always kind of go far, because sometimes you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't need to do all that work, but sometimes you do. So for this example, I'm just gonna kind of clean these parts that are the most noticeable. And see here, I could go and erase all this, but I'm just gonna go back to my select tool, and it's a minus, so I have to do a plus version of it. And I'm going to select in here the best that I can, and it's gonna save me time as opposed to erasing everything. So when you have this selected, you can just press delete and it'll delete it like this, but you can also go to modify, on select, modify once this is selected, and you can play with these, but I'm just gonna show you feather right now. If you go on 5 pixels, it'll basically blur the edges, so it'll give you that sort of effect. I'm gonna go back by undoing, and I'm gonna feather to just 1 pixel, and that's gonna give me a smoother edge. Now I'm gonna move my drawing to the center of my canvas. Let's say I want to do a harder thing where I want to actually separate this pot from this character. So let me duplicate this layer. So by showing you, I don't have to lose any work by experimenting. So this is a separate layer. There's 2 layers. Smile layers here. I want to work on this one. I'm gonna grab this lace tool. You got different ones. The first one is kind of freehand, and wherever you stop, it'll join both, and that will be the shape of your selection. This here, you kind of click once, and I'm not clicking right now, you don't have to hold it. And then you click again, and you click again, and then you click again. And you can make really sort of this effect, or you can make a rounder effect. So it all depends on how you play with it. And then you double click and it'll close your shape. And again, that's what you selected. And the third tool is just this weird thing. You should definitely play with this. It's a good one too. Anyway, I'm gonna go to this one. And I'm gonna select my layer, and I always make sure that I know which one it is by just kind of making it invisible so I can tell. And because the background, the red background, is already gone, it's a different layer, I'm not gonna worry about this part of the pot. But for this part, I'm gonna get closer and I'm gonna start here. And just gonna click. Double click, and your selection is there. Again, you can smooth the edges. I'm gonna smooth it to 0.3, which is a very subtle, but it won't give me those really hard edges. So these things here, they're in the same layer. Even though I'm holding this selection, it's all just one layer. So I want this to be a different layer, so I'm just gonna cut it and paste it again. And if you want to paste it in the same exact, let's say we didn't move it, and you cut it and you paste, if you paste it, it'll paste it whatever it wants to paste it. But if you go on paste special, you can paste it in place, which is exactly where you got it. And we're gonna have this red edge, not because it's moved, it's because of the feather effect. This is how much of the drawing has been eaten by the feather effect. Okay, now I've got my pot of gold. Let's say I can't use it like this. So let me do a little effect thing where I'm just gonna grab this part of my drawing, select it, copy, paste. I'm gonna turn it, and I'm gonna paste the same one again and turn it. And you know, we got this stuff here, but I've got my eraser tool. I'm gonna sort of soften the edges of this one bit, then soften the edges of this other bit, and it's better, even though it's not perfect. So I'm going to select these three layers by selecting the first layer, holding shift and selecting the other one, and then everything in between will be selected. Right click on this, any of these layers, and you have a lot of options, but I'm gonna merge them together. So now this is all one layer, my pot of gold. So you know, you can play with this, make it bigger, you can duplicate it and put it everywhere and make a pattern out of it, or you know, whatever. So the other question, or a part of the question, was that he wanted to make the lines of the drawing sort of thicker or thinner. I'm not sure. So this is, I don't know, I guess one way to do it. I have a lot of weird ways to do it, but this is my, let's go to this one. I would just duplicate it and go to the levels and adjustments and image, and I'm gonna drag this all the way down so it'll make the whole level which is black. and this white stuff is from the other layer because my drawing now is all white. So this, I'm gonna drag this layer to behind this layer, and from that I'm gonna blur it just a little bit, not so much, like 1 pixel is more than enough for me right now. And I'm gonna duplicate this a million times, and you'll see the edges are gonna get darker, and you don't have to, you can select this, merge this together, and go more, and then merge them together. You don't have to, but I like to, because it might slow down your computer or whatever. So you see, that's like one trick that I do, even though it's not the technical way to do it. I don't know what's the technical way to do it. So yeah, that makes the drawing pop out from the background much better, I think. And yeah, so let me show you some other things. Let's say you want to do this a bit yellow because you want to do that, and you can select the magic wand, which one click will kind of select the whole part that's the color, and look, it's pretty accurate. That's better than what I expected because of all the dots. But you can select it by you click once, you can click this, and you can sort of, you don't hold, you just select the parts that you like, and you have to hold shift for, see how it kind of switches around. It selects only this, and then I click here and it selects only this. If you hold shift, you see how that plus symbol appears next to the wand, and it adds to your selection. If you're selecting all these little things and you're taking your sweet time, and then you, whoops, selected something else, it's okay. If you undo, it'll go back to your selection. And actually, by undoing, you can go back a bunch of times. Not forever, but you can go back a bunch of times. And my kind of escape from everything is selecting this, which is also a selecting tool. But I just click anywhere at once, and it deselects everything. But you can also deselect by finding it somewhere here. I don't care. Okay, let's make this yellow. This is white. So white, you can't change the color because there's no color. So I'm gonna go back to my level effect. Actually, I'm gonna smooth it first. So select, modify, feather. That's good. Levels. I'm gonna make this gray, grayish. There. Then I'm gonna go to my color balance, and I'm gonna play with my colors. So I'm gonna add red, I'm gonna add yellow, then I'm gonna go to my light, and I'm gonna add red and yellow because I want this to be sort of orange, gold, shadow. I'm gonna give it a red thing, there. And that's how we add color to it, if that's what you wanted. Let's see, what else was in that question? Well, I think we covered that up. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and I'll do the best that I can to answer.